The Snow White live action is coming out, and I know we all have mixed feelings about it, but let's try and be positive here. I've already made a version of the main dress and it feels too soon to make another one, especially because I haven't actually finished sewing the eyelets in the back of that one yet. Do we all know the Disney dolls? I feel like we do because they're everywhere and you've probably seen at least one of the collections at some point. There is a red carpet collection where they designed couture dresses based on the year that each Disney princess came out. Snow White in particular has this beautiful 1937 inspired design that is just leading us into my very first 1930s based project. I spent ages looking for a 1930s pattern to suit this dress and I could not find a single thing, which I was very unhappy about. I started looking at YouTube videos on how to cut bias dresses because that's how those kinds of 1930s style dresses were done. And as I was watching these videos, I came across one where the person who made the video also made a pattern for the dress. And it's actually a shockingly good match for the Snow White couture doll. I bought that pattern so fast this morning and I've got it printed off and we need to go downstairs and assemble that next. I have depleted 3 different rolls of tape from across the house trying to assemble this pattern and I have completely run out. There is absolutely no more tape in the house. I could go out and get some, but frankly, I'm going to the shops tomorrow anyway, so I think we're gonna go ahead and just pick this up tomorrow. We're back. Let's not talk about how many days have actually passed. I've assembled the patterns. Do not ask me how, but somehow this piece and this piece, the wrong way around, it's not going to affect anything. I can still figure out where the line is meant to be, but I mean, being tired is one thing, but how do you miss that? How? I don't know. I did my best. I'm really not confident in the sizing because the pattern is very complicated and the pieces are very unusual shapes and I cannot figure out how to make the waist bigger, but keeping the bust and hip measurements the same. So I've just cut out the larger size that's right for the waist, but it's gonna be too big for the bust and the hips, and I don't know how to fix that. We'll cut out the skirt panels first, because that just makes sense. The back needs cutting out in 2 panels. The center front needs cutting out on the fold. So I think you just fold it into a triangle. This fabric is so incredibly slippy. This is going to be very difficult. Maybe the skirt panels aren't cut on the bias because they curve, which is why the grain line is so straight. I've consulted the instruction video. The skirt pieces, you do just cut out a bit more normally, so that's fine. It's the bodice pieces that you do this triangle thing with. So as I've already set up my triangle, I'm gonna cut these out first instead. I'm gonna be honest, this still doesn't feel right. I've got an obscene amount of fabric, so if I mess it up badly enough, I'll try again. For the back 2 panels of the skirt, I did improvise a small train to match the doll dress a little bit more. I then moved on to cutting out the lining too. I used some thrifted cotton for this. I think it used to be a bedsheet or something, so I was working with a very finite amount of fabric to try and cut all of my pieces out of. For the bodice pieces, I had to throw cutting on the fold or even on the bias out of the window because there was so little left over. There was just one tiny bit of the lining that I had to patchwork together, but it's fine, it's only one bit and it won't be on show, so it should be okay. Howdy. I'm gonna be quick because the battery's gonna die. I've got all of the fashion layers cut out and I've got all of the lining layers cut out with a little bit of patchwork in there. The only thing I've got left to do is on the doll design, the bust area has this sequined fabric over it. Now I've got this, which is actually absolutely beautiful. It's this beautiful embroidery flower thing with loads of tiny little sequins, and I'm showing you the back of it. Let me show you the front. Absolutely beautiful. I'm thinking I'll just cut out bust piece again in this and then just sew it all together as I'm actually assembling the dress. That feels like that makes sense to me. It won't be an exact match for the doll because of the style of the dress that I'm doing with the pattern. It triangles all the way down a lot more rather than being a straight line across, which I think is still gonna look nice. It will just be slightly different from the doll. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that cut out. Possibly not on camera because it's flashing red and I'm not going to get another battery. Petition to make racing to get sewing steps done before your battery dies a recognised Olympic sport, please. This is gonna look unbelievably gorgeous. I am excited. Let's go sew things upstairs. We have all of our pieces cut out. Well, actually everything but the sleeves. I didn't cut those out purposely because I haven't entirely decided which fabric I'm using yet. I've got two options and I'm probably just gonna ask Dan so I don't have to make the decision. Mainly need to start with the bodice pieces. I'm pretty sure if memory serves, the first step is putting the darts in the piece that goes around your stomach. Full disclosure, my head is killing me right now. There is a good chance that I might just stop pretty soon and pick this up either later or just tomorrow because I feel like my studio light is trying to murder me. I marked the darts in pencil because I don't like using white chalk on white fabrics, and then used the trusty pin method to get them in place. I repeated this step on the lining too, with the addition of adding a center seam because the lining is a little bit more Frankenstein together than the fashion layer. Next, I stitched around the edges of the embroidery and the silk bodice pieces to hold the layers together and join the panels at the center front. We've hit a point where we've got our bust piece, and the next step is to attach that to the waist piece we just made with the darts in it, to then create that seam that goes underneath the bust. But my head hurts a lot, so I'm actually going to stop now, and that's where we're going to pick it up tomorrow. This is my lining. I was just putting the pieces together, thinking I would start with these pieces together, and then I'd start the day being like, hey, I've done this, and then we could move on to joining the actual fashion layers together. This is pinned, not stitched. I put it on the mannequin to see how the fit was doing before I committed to joining the pieces, and it's not great. It's too big. Which I know, I went with the bigger size, but somehow it seems fine at the hips. A little baggy at the bust, but that's fine because it's going to be a gathered in look anyway, so you can get away with it. Why is the waist so big? This makes no sense to me. I'm not cutting it out again. I refuse. Maybe I can get it to just do if the darts and take in even more, but once I start doing that I really risk losing the shape and design of the dress, and it's fine to do that on the lining, but I don't know if that'll work on the fashion layer. I don't know. I really don't like it when things don't just work first time. It's infuriating. I messed around with the darts for a while and got them to a point I was happy with, and then joined the bodice and the waist pieces together for both the lining and the fashion layer. I managed to fix it. This is actually the top fashion layer, which is looking so very pretty. This one didn't actually require fixing. Somehow the fashion layer is smaller than the lining, even though I cut them out the same. But I guess I didn't somewhere. The lining underneath this, I just put this on for pretty effect. This is fitting a lot better than it was before because I've just reduced those darts by a surprisingly significant amount. I'm going to deviate away from the video instructions. I'm actually going to add the skirt on next. I'm doing a lining, and a lining isn't part of the video instructions, so I'm going to change the order to suit me a little bit.
by no means perfect, but she's not bad. She is, however, incredibly see-through, and I'm really hoping the lining will help with that.
Dress is in rough assembled shape, as shown. The main thing is that the back of it is still undone and open. I got the wig out. I'm currently in the debate of, does it need restyling or can I get away with just brushing it? Personally, I'm rooting for just brush it. I don't know at what point I let my studio get this messy, but it's bad. Lining and fashion layer are ready to be attached. Irritatingly, the lining has actually turned out really good. Like, all those triangle lines are crisp and perfect, whereas on the actual fashion layer, I went wonky and it puckered a little bit. And I know full well that's because the fashion layer is this, frankly, awful stretch fabric, and the lining is a very nice, easy to work with cotton. Anyway, letting it go. I'm gonna pin those together, right sides facing each other, so then we can just pull the lining through and turn it inside out, and then it will be the right way around. And this essentially means that I'm not going to be doing any bias binding anywhere, because the lining will then seal off all of the neckline and the armholes and the back as well. I also finally made a decision on the sleeves, and by that I mean I asked Dan and he told me which one to go with. So I will be showing you that fabric later when we cut out the sleeves. At this point, I started to cut some notches into my seam allowances, as once the layers were pinned together, I noticed that they wouldn't sit flat. After that, I machined the lining in place around the bodice right up until where the zip needed to be inserted. Boy, is she turning out pretty. I've just been playing around with the little belt thing to create that look. It is definitely really solid and bulky. So in an ideal world, I would prefer something a little bit more on the dainty side, but we make do. Steam it with the iron just to get it falling a bit more naturally, because right now it's been wrapped around cardboard for so long that you can see all of the bends in it where it was wrapped around. I also still need to press the dress since adding the lining on. I was just so excited to put it on the mannequin. Came here to say something. Oh yes, the sleeves. This is the fabric I'm using for the sleeves. It's got the same kind of texture as the one that the doll has. It is slightly more white, whereas the rest of the fabrics are slightly more cream, but it does actually still quite work. I think that's largely thanks to the embroidery on the bodice piece that I added has white stitching on it, so that makes the white sleeves match. So it'll work. I've had this wine red burgundy fabric in the stash for a very long time, and I'm gonna use this to cut out those little oval shapes that are on the sleeves on the doll to then stitch on the circles that I cut out of this, and then we'll get all of that put on there. So I mainly just need to figure out how big I'm doing these circles now. I worked it out and I need the circles to have a 16-inch radius. That's not a circle, that's a half circle. I'm too used to doing skirts. I made a quick template for the burgundy pieces and then cut out the fabric. I did actually decide to use less pieces on the actual sleeves, as I realised once they drape down, it will put the burgundy shapes much closer together than when it lies flat. For this same reason, I also slimmed down the pieces a lot too. This is what each sleeve is going to look like. There is going to be a hole that goes around here that I will cut in as I actually stitch them on. Each sleeve is going to have 3 of these little burgundy oval shapes that I need to zigzag stitch around all of them. The only thread match I've got are these 2, only I don't have an actual spool of thread. I've just got these 2 leftover bobbins, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to zigzag stitch around 6 of these. So I'll make a start, and I might have to stop and run to the fabric store and pick this up another day. This was actually the first time I had used the zigzag setting since switching to this new machine. It took me a few attempts to actually get it on the right setting. The labels are not clear on this machine. Didn't really go to plan, as the edges are very rough and fraying. And because they're fraying so much, there are areas where I've tried to double over it because it's already coming off, because it's just fraying at the edges so much that the stitching is doing nothing. Even where I've doubled over, it's still just, the silk is coming apart. It's fraying way too much. I should have backed it onto something else, but I didn't think about it. I'm not too bothered about it, I'll live with it, but it's not ideal. I've now learned that lesson to not do this way again. I have run out of the burgundy thread. I'm gonna have to pick up some more, and we will continue the sleeve another day. First job of the final day was to install the zip and then close the centre back seam, completing the skirt. This zip is absolutely going to be visible, as I didn't have any white ones to hand. I've added it in, and just get this open. For like think. I've left the lining inside unstitched just around the zip region, so that way when I actually buy a white one, I can quickly change this out and then I'll stitch the lining in. For now, for the results, I will just have a blue zip going down my butt. I then hand stitched the sleeves onto the dress whilst rewatching old NCIS. And with that task complete, we are at the end of the project. I just filmed a whole outro, but my mic wasn't turned on. I'm at least glad I realised that now, and not when I went to edit it after I'd taken all of this off. The rough gist of it was I really love this dress. I am very surprised that it worked out so well. I was expecting it to look very cheap costumey, but I'm very surprised that it has worked out and looks like a genuine evening dress, and it makes me very happy inside that it's turned out that way. The blue zip on the butt is not fantastic. I will be getting around to replacing that with a white one that actually blends in at some point. My least favourite part is definitely the fraying burgundy little oval thingies. I've now learned not to do it this way. I could fix that at some point if it bothers me enough and I have enough need to use this dress again, which I probably won't, so it probably won't get fixed. My next project is going to be my medieval bedroom makeover, which I am so excited about doing. I have already put a little sneak peek of things to come over on my Instagram account, should anybody be interested. And if you are interested in that kind of stuff and are not already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and feel free to leave me a comment down below because you guys know I love a good natter. Seriously, you have no idea how much waffle I actually edit out of these videos. Oh, my feet are killing me. I gotta lose the heels. Ugh. I hope we all enjoyed this video and this project. I am definitely very happy with the result, and I hope to see you all in my next video as we get all medieval up in here. I've had to film the voiceover in the midst of the medieval bedroom chaos. I have to say this overlapping videos thing is really fun and completely not stressful at all. Can we just take a moment to appreciate my attempt at 1930s makeup? I'm aware it is not perfect, but these eyebrows are so expressive. I love it.